Most predators are creatures of proximity. They hunt where they live, they target people they know, or they succumb to sudden, chaotic impulses that leave behind a messy trail of breadcrumbs. The human brain is naturally wired to look for patterns. A specific victim type, a consistent geographical radius, a recognizable calling card. We find comfort in these patterns because if a monster has a shape, it can be tracked. But what happens when a mind consciously strips away all patterns? What happens when a human brain treats the act of taking a life not as a crime of passion, but as a purely cold, calculated logistical problem? Today, we are looking at the case of Israel Keyes. He is often called the most methodical serial killer in modern American history. He didn't just break the rules of criminal psychology. He read the FBI's manual on profiling and systematically engineered his life to bypass every single trigger. But as we peel back the layers of his terrifying geometric approach to murder, we also have to look at the tragic cost. Behind his chilling mathematical precision were real human beings. Vibrant, loved, completely innocent people whose lives were stolen by a man who looked at humanity and saw nothing but targets. As this is our final episode of the season before we take a short production break to prepare for Season 2, we wanted to leave you with a case that challenges everything we think we know about criminal minds. This is the profile of a killer that has been rattling inside my brain and keeps me awake at night constantly. Settle in for a deep dive into the grid. This episode contains detailed discussions of abduction, violence, physical assault, and suicide. If this isn't for you, please take care of yourself. Listener discretion is strongly advised. To understand the brain of Israel Keyes, you have to first understand how he viewed the American landscape. To you and me, a highway is a way to get home. A national park is a sanctuary. And a different state is a place to vacation. To Israel Keyes, the United States was a massive interconnected chessboard. Between 2001 and 2012, Keyes lived a double life that defied everything criminology thought it knew about modern serial killers. By day, he was a hard-working contractor in Anchorage, Alaska. He was a dedicated father to a young daughter that he shared custody with his first girlfriend. He was a quiet, dependable neighbor who drank beer, talked about home renovations, and attended community barbecues. If you saw him at a local hardware store, you'd see a man giving tips on drywalling or discussing the local weather. But by night, or rather during his carefully planned vacations, he became an absolute ghost. Keyes understood a fundamental vulnerability in American law enforcement: jurisdiction. When a local police department in Vermont investigates a missing person, they aren't automatically looking at rental car logs in Texas. They aren't checking hotel registries in Montreal or flight manifests out of Seattle. Keyes weaponized the systematic blind spot with terrifying efficiency. He would fly across the country, pick up a rental car, and drive thousands of miles to an entirely different region before ever looking for a target. He wouldn't target people who fit a specific demographic profile. He didn't care about age, gender, race, or background. Most serial killers possess a deep-seated psychological need that dictates their victim profile, a specific trauma they are trying to reenact. Keyes didn't have that. His only criteria for a victim was terrifyingly simple: vulnerability and isolation. Imagine a lone hiker on a remote trail in the Pacific Northwest, a couple sleeping soundly in a rural farmhouse in New England, a young woman working an overnight shift at a gas station alone in the Midwest. By eliminating a specific victim type, he eliminated the primary thread that links a killer to their crimes. If there is no connection between the victims and no connection between the victims and the killer, the traditional machinery of a police investigation grinds to a halt. There is no motive to trace, no common denominator to find, and no electronic signature linking the perpetrator to the scene. He was a man operating completely outside the grid. How does the brain wire itself to think this way? It doesn't happen overnight. To understand the cold mathematics of Israel Keyes, we have to look at where he grew up. Keys was raised in a deeply isolated, off-the-grid environment. Born in Richmond, Utah, and raised in a remote area of Washington state, his family was part of an extreme fundamentalist religious movement known as the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They didn't have a television. They didn't go to public schools. They didn't participate in mainstream society. Instead, Keys spent his formative years surrounded by dense forests, learning how to survive in the wilderness, how to hunt, how to track, and how to remain completely unseen. In these woods, the young Israel Keys developed an unnatural relationship with power and control. He would later tell investigators that from a very young age, he began torturing animals, a classic behavioral marker. But he did it with a specific twist. He didn't just hurt them out of anger. He studied them. He studied how they reacted to traps, how they tried to escape, and how long they could survive. He was treating the termination of life as a biological experiment. When he reached adulthood, he joined the U.S. Army. From 1998 to 2001, he served at Fort Lewis, Fort Hood, and in Egypt. The military didn't make him a killer. He was already warped by then. But what it did give him was an elite understanding of tactics. He learned land navigation, weapons maintenance, small unit logistics, and tactical planning. He took the survival skills of his isolated childhood and married them to the precision training of the United States military. When he was discharged, his brain possessed a lethal combination of skills. He could navigate pitch-black woods without a flashlight. He knew exactly how police communications functioned, and he understood how to blend perfectly into an urban landscape while planning an operation miles away. Perhaps the most chilling manifestation of Keys' logical brain was his invention of the kill cache, colloquially known to investigators as his kill buckets. Most killers commit a crime, get a massive rush of adrenaline, and then scramble to find the weapons or tools needed to dispose of the body and the evidence. This frantic aftermath is usually when they get caught. They drop a wallet, they leave a tire track, or they are spotted by a witness while buying trash bags at 3 o'clock in the morning. Keys operated on a timeline of years. He removed the adrenaline from the equation entirely. He would travel to states he had absolutely no connection to, spending hours scouting out remote public lands, boat launches, or abandoned properties. Once he found a perfect spot, he would visit a local hardware store, paying entirely in cash to avoid a paper trail. He would purchase ordinary 5-gallon plastic Home Depot or Lowe's buckets. Inside these, he would pack a meticulously curated selection of items: handguns, pump-action shotguns, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, knives, rope, zip ties, silencers, heavy-duty trash bags, and industrial drain cleaner or lye designed to accelerate decomposition and dissolve tissue. To ensure the contents survived the elements, Keys sealed the lids with thick layers of waterproof silicone spray. He then buried them deep in the earth, sometimes under rocks or tree roots, marking the exact GPS coordinates or noting specific geographical landmarks to return years later to commit the perfect murder. Think about the terrifying patience that requires. He didn't have a specific victim in mind when he dug those holes. He was simply setting up the infrastructure for a future crime. He was pre-positioning his pieces on the chessboard, waiting for the right moment to strike. Years later, he would book a flight, rent a car, drive to the location, dig up the bucket, commit a murder, use the hidden supplies to destroy the evidence, rebury the bucket, and fly back to Alaska the next day like nothing ever happened. Following his arrest, the FBI managed to recover 2 of these intact buckets. One hidden in Eagle River, Alaska, and another buried in a vacant lot in Blake Avenue in Tupper Lake, New York. The contents inside were dry, pristine, and ready for use, standing as cold plastic monuments to his hyper-focused executive functioning. While the FBI strongly suspects Israel Keys is responsible for at least 11 deaths, and potentially many more across the United States, Canada, and Belize, There are only 4 victims whose identities are definitively confirmed through his explicit confessions and corroborating physical evidence. To truly honor the gravity of this story, we must say their names and look at who they were before they crossed paths with the monster. Samantha Koenig was only 18 years old when she was taken from a small coffee shack in Anchorage on February 2nd, 2012. She was a vibrant young woman, beloved by her family and friends, working hard to build her future. Keyes targeted her simply because she was alone at closing time. After taking her life in his tool shed, he left her body frozen there while he went on a family cruise. Upon returning, he used her remains to stage a horrific proof-of-life photo, sewing her eyelids open to extort a $30,000 ransom from her desperate family. It was the tracking of her stolen debit card that ultimately brought down his entire network. William Currier, known to his family and friends as Bill, was a deeply dedicated animal lover and an employee at the University of Vermont. Known for his gentle nature and kind sense of humor, he was a pillar of stability for his family. In June 2011, Keyes broke into the suburban home Bill shared with his wife. Even when faced with an armed intruder in the dark, Bill showed immense bravery, fighting back with everything he had and screaming to alert neighbors in a desperate attempt to protect his wife. Keyes bound him and later shot him at an abandoned farmhouse. Lorraine Currier, Bill's wife, was a warm, deeply compassionate woman who cherished her quiet life with her husband. She worked locally and was adored by her siblings and friends for her bright spirit. Taken alongside her husband on that terrible night in June 2011, she was subjected to an unimaginable ordeal before Keyes took her life at the same abandoned property. Despite exhaustive searches following Keyes' arrest, the farmhouse had already been demolished and the debris moved to a landfill. The physical remains of Bill and Lorraine have never been recovered. For a long time, the identity of Keyes' April 2009 victim remained a mystery. During interrogations, Keyes admitted to flying into New York, digging up a kill cache, and abducting a woman from a location in New Jersey, driving her to Tupper Lake, New York to kill her. In 2013, the FBI officially confirmed that this victim was 48-year-old Debra Feldman. Debra was a mother from New Jersey who had walked out of her apartment and simply vanished from the face of the earth. For years, her family suffered without answers. Keyes claimed he buried Debra near a local creek, but despite the FBI's massive excavation efforts, her body has never been found. Beyond these 4, Keyes dropped chilling hints about at least 7 other victims. He admitted to disposing of 2 bodies in a deep lake in the Pacific Northwest, abducting a person from a trail in Texas, and killing a couple in a different state. The remaining names rest with him in the dark. For all of his mathematical planning, Keyes' own brain eventually fell prey to the one thing he tried so hard to eliminate from his grid: hubris. When he successfully extorted Samantha's family and saw the funds hit the account, he made a critical, arrogant assumption. He believed he was entirely smarter than the system. He believed that because he was moving across state lines, the local police wouldn't be able to communicate fast enough to catch him. He thought his geographical separation would keep him safe. He forgot that the grid works both ways. Keyes flew down to New Mexico and Texas, taking Samantha's debit card with him. He began withdrawing cash from various ATMs along the highway. Every time he inserted that plastic card into a machine, a silent digital signal pinged a central server. The FBI, working alongside local law enforcement, didn't need to know who was holding the card. They just needed to look at the map. They mapped the withdrawals in real time. The pings were moving east along Interstate 40 through Arizona, New Mexico, and into Texas. They knew the exact make, model, and color of the vehicles passing through those toll booths and camera traps around the time of the withdrawals. On March 13, 2012, Texas Highway Patrol State Trooper Brian Henry received a bulletin. He was sitting in his cruiser on Highway 59 in Lufkin, Texas, when he spotted a light blue Ford Focus matching the description of the suspect vehicle. He pulled the car over. When Trooper Henry approached the window, he didn't find a trembling, panicked criminal. He found Israel Keyes. calm, polite, handing over his license with a steady hand. But when the trooper searched the vehicle, the illusion shattered. Inside the car, investigators found Samantha Koenig's cell phone, her debit card, the rolled-up cash, and the exact disguise Keyes had been using to make the ATM withdrawals. The algorithm had collapsed. The ghost finally had a face, a name, and a pair of handcuffs around his wrists. When Keyes was flown back to Alaska and placed in an interrogation room, a fascinating psychological chess match began between him and a team of specialized FBI investigators and prosecutors, including federal prosecutor Kevin Feldis and FBI agent Monique Dahl. Keyes was a completely different kind of interview. He wasn't defensive, and he didn't deny what he did, but he refused to give up information easily. He wanted to control the flow of data. So he made them a deal. He would talk, but only if they met his strict conditions. He demanded a guarantee of a fast execution date. He demanded that his name and the details of his crimes be kept entirely out of the media. Why? Because of his daughter. In a bizarre, deeply twisted manifestation of compartmentalized empathy, this man who could look at another human being as nothing but a resource wanted desperately to protect his own child from discovering that her father was a monster. For hours, Keyes sat in a cold room, drinking coffee and eating snacks, casually detailing his crimes. He would laugh, a dry, chilling chuckle, as he explained how he outsmarted the police for over a decade. He noted to investigators that there were people out there who were missing that nobody was even looking for yet. Federal investigators had to piece together a puzzle where the pieces were scattered across thousands of miles. They had to look at Keyes' flight logs, his credit card statements, and his rental car history going back 10 years. Every time he rented a car and turned off his phone, they had to look at the mileage. If he checked into a hotel in Seattle, but the rental car had 1,200 extra miles on the odometer, the FBI had to figure out where those 1,200 miles took him. They discovered he had driven through deep portions of the American underbelly. Camping sites, boat ramps, isolated trails. They realized that Israel Keyes was likely responsible for unsolved missing persons cases stretching from the state of Washington to the tip of Florida. He would only give them fragments. He played with the investigators, feeding them an inch of information today, then shutting down for a week when he felt he was losing control of the room. But the justice system doesn't move at the speed of a criminal's ego. Despite the investigators' best efforts to keep the details quiet to keep Keyes talking, information began to leak. Local news stations in Anchorage started connecting the dots between the arrest of a local contractor in Texas and the disappearance of Samantha Koenig. Keyes realized he was losing control of his final narrative. He realized his daughter would eventually know. And true to his rigid desire for absolute dominance, he refused to let the state decide his fate. On the night of December 2, 2012, while sitting in his cell at the Anchorage Correctional Complex, Keyes acted on a final grim logistical plan. He had managed to conceal a small razor blade inside his cell, likely harvested from a disposable razor given to him for grooming. He waited until the guard walked past his door on standard rotation. He had calculated the exact number of minutes between rounds. He took up a rolled-up bedsheet, fashioned a ligature, and tied it tightly around his neck. Then, using the razor blade, he deeply severed the arteries in his left wrist. He lay down under his blanket, letting the blood pool silently beneath him while the ligature did its work. When the guard returned for the next check, Israel Keyes was dead. He left behind no map to his remaining victims. He left behind no explanations, no apologies, and no remorse. Instead, investigators found a damp, blood-stained legal pad under his body. On it was a multi-page handwritten poem titled Ode to Murder. It wasn't a confession. It was a rambling, narcissistic manifesto celebrating the dark woods, the shadows, and the act of taking a human life. He died exactly how he lived, completely indifferent to the human wreckage he left behind, choosing self-destruction over facing the consequences of his actions. The death of Israel Keyes left an agonizing legacy. The FBI was forced to close the case, but the investigation into his timeline remains open. There are families all across this country, parents whose children went hiking in 2005 and never came home, spouses whose parents vanished from rest stops in 2008 who look at the travel logs of Israel Keyes and wonder if he was responsible. The FBI released extensive timelines of his travels, asking the public for help matching his whereabouts with unsolved disappearances. When we look at the brain of Israel Keyes, we are forced to confront an uncomfortable truth about the human condition. Sometimes, evil is highly organized. Sometimes a broken, low-empathy mind can mask itself behind immaculate logic, careful planning, and a perfectly normal smile. Keyes tried to prove that by treating murder as a math problem, he could become an untouchable figure. But he failed. He failed because his coldness and greed was ultimately his undoing. He couldn't comprehend the fierce, messy, unyielding love of a community that wouldn't stop looking for Samantha Koenig. He couldn't calculate the relentless determination of law enforcement officers who would track a stolen debit card across state lines with surgical focus. Israel Keyes tried to erase his victims, burying them in unmarked earth and tearing down their names. Yet today, we don't remember him because he was a genius. We remember him because his coldness reminds us of how precious, how warm, and how deeply connected our ordinary lives truly are. We remember Samantha Koenig, Bill Currier, Lorraine Currier, and Debra Feldman. We remember their names, their families, and the love they left behind. The math of Israel Keyes eventually added up to absolute zero, but the memory of the beautiful souls he took remains entirely undiminished. As we close out the final episode of Season 1, Nick and I here at True Crime on the Brain want to thank you for taking this journey into the cases that rattle inside our minds with us over the last 12 weeks. We are going to be stepping away from the microphone for a short break to step back into the archives, research new files, and build an even deeper exploration for Season 2. Until we return, keep looking for the truth, check on your neighbors, stay close to the light, and take care of each other out there. We'll see you next season. Remember to stay sane with True Crime on the Brain.